Do you see him? Do you think a depressed person could make this? No. Hello, hi, good evening. This month's project is really just something I thought would be a funny idea, but hopefully it'll also help me learn some skills to do some larger projects down the road. I was talking with a friend recently about how Rick Owens makes baby geobaskets, and I thought it would be funny to make the tiniest geobaskets that the world has ever seen for a true fashion icon, Barbie. I always used to make my own clothes for my dolls growing up, and I think it was a really good springboard for me to learn construction skills for making human-sized garments. So hopefully this will help me learn, in addition to being just a silly, stupid project. Lots of designers, including Rick Owens, have done official collaborations with Barbie in the past. He did one in 2016, but honestly, I think the look they picked is kind of lackluster and they could have done a lot better. So that's what I'll be aiming to do. So for this, I'll be making one Barbie that looks like an official collaboration between the brands, decked out in a fall 2020 ready-to-wear outfit. And I'll be making another extremely cursed Ken doll that will look like the designer Rick himself. I already went ahead and ordered 2 Barbies online. They came like this, I don't know why. From here, the steps will be figuring out what materials I'm going to use, sourcing that, making the clothing, making the accessories, and then putting everything together. And I do have a hard deadline on this project because I'm going home to visit my family in 2 weeks, so I absolutely need everything to be finished by then. So with all that left to do, let's get started. So I took a trip to the thrift store and picked out some pieces to cut up for my fabric. I got some satin, some blue nylon, and some faux leather. The rest I could make using scraps I already have. I live in New York City, so I could actually go to Mood Fabrics and pick out some of the fabric that Rick Owens actually uses. But because all that is sold by the yard and I'm doing such a tiny project, I didn't want to be wasteful of luxury material. When I got home, I gave my Barbies a little hair makeover by washing out their hair with hot water and shampoo to straighten it, and then trimming. I did not do a good job, and it made a big mess. So one of my friends who basically knows everything there is to know about Rick Owens told me that there's only a few instances of him actually wearing geobaskets. So instead, I decided to switch his look to what he wore at the runway show that Barbie's look is from, so they go together. The first piece I needed to make was what I think is a Dylan tee, and I just want to say off the bat, if there are any diehard Rick fans watching, I'm so sorry if I butcher the name or misidentify a piece, because it will definitely happen in this video. I am by no means an expert. Anyway, I cut out the tee using scrap fabric I had and dyed it darker in a little dye bath. So I got this jacket and this dress at the thrift store for the Barbie look. I cut out 2 pieces of the blue jacket fabric and then sewed them together with a layer of interfacing in the middle so it would look like a puffy down jacket. I'm not sure how the actual pattern of the lines on the cape go, but based on photos, I assumed it was something like this. I drew those lines out on the cape using a ruler and then followed up on my machine. And voila, an easy breezy cape. For the edges, I just glued down some strips of fabric and then sewed it. The last touch was to make the closure out of air dry clay. So these pieces are so tiny. That's my finger for scale. This is going to become the chain clasp for the cape, and these are going to be Rick's tiny little earrings. But now I just need to spray paint these silver. I spray painted those bad boys and they came out pretty good. From there I moved on to fabricating the dress. My Rick historian friends did a little digging and found out that this was actually 2 pieces and allegedly never went into production. So I just based my design off of the photo as best I could. There are basically 2 loose tubes that wrap around the front of the dress and drape down the front, so I sewed those up and attached them to the base form. I actually used to do Monster High repaints and ball joint doll face-ups back in the day, so I am familiar with repainting dolls, but it's been probably 5 years since the last time I did it. To start, you want to create a blank canvas by wiping away the factory paint with 100% acetone and then priming with a layer of Mr. Super Clear. Then you can go in with watercolor pencils and chalk pastels and draw your own features. I had a hard time filming this portion because it was so close that my hands kept blocking the lens, so it kind of turned out like this meme. But when you're happy with your work, you want to seal that bad boy up with another layer of Mr. Super Clear, and then you're good to go. Back to making tiny clothing, I started on Rick's coat. I really just winged this and adjusted as I went along. As a little finishing touch, I added a little button on one side. I picked up this cheap faux leather skirt at the thrift and cut it up to make Rick's pants. By this point, I was really exhausted and dealing with a lot of other things in my personal life, so I just said fuck it and hot glued them instead of sewing. I did have to hand sew the crotch though. Then I made all the little zipper and rivet elements out of air dry clay, spray painted them, and attached them on. And even though there aren't visible drawstrings in my reference photo, I just thought it looked more iconic with them dangling down, so I added them on in the end. To make tiny kiss heels, I basically made leather socks first by gluing leather around the form of the doll's foot. And then I used polymer clay and sculpted the base of the heel, adding in little details like the grill. Then I baked them, painted them black, and attached them to the foot. For the clear heel, I just built up layers of hot glue and then cut them into the right shape. Then I took a break. For Barbie's thigh-high boots, I cut out more of the faux leather and I gave it a couple coats of white spray paint. I glued those pieces directly onto her legs to make it just as form-fitting as the actual boots, and then repeated the same process as before for making the soles. Then I added knee details and little silver rivets. It's been a day. Our heat and hot water is out for the third time this year. It's been out for over a month each time. And this time the plumber came and told us that we just need to replace the whole boiler. Probably not going to have heat or hot water for a long time. And as much as I would love to take a hot shower right now, I'm just going to power through, keep working, pretend everything's fine. Last night I was attaching the little metal grill portion of the kiss heel, and I burnt myself with a hot glue gun and dropped the piece. I looked everywhere and I could not find that little piece. But it ended up being a blessing because I had originally sculpted that piece out of air drying clay and then spray painted it. But this time, because I didn't want to wait for the air dry clay, I made it out of polymer clay and baked it. And it turned out so much better. It's not even funny. It's night and day difference. So, relationship over with air dry clay. Polymer clay is my new best friend. Yeah, honestly, I don't know if I'm doing something wrong with air dry clay, but man, I've really struggled with it every time I've tried to use it. It's cracked on me or shrunk a crazy amount, dried weird, had bad texture. If you have any tricks, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know. But I think going forward, I'm definitely going to use polymer clay for most things. So there was a silver lining with that. It was a little annoying at first when I thought I lost it and I had to remake it, but it turned out for the best. So maybe something good will come of me not having heat or hot water too. But for now, just gonna keep working. I think we can finish up everything today, so let's get to it. I remade the other shoe and then finished up Barbie's look by sewing her into the dress. All that was left were the accessories, so I cut up some t-shirt scraps I had and painted them with acrylic paint until they looked like the photo. For the sunglasses, I used an X-Acto knife to cut out a flat piece of plastic from a water jug. And then colored it black with a Sharpie. I made some little arms out of air dry clay and more plastic and then glued it all together. I was really getting in the groove and I had some extra time, so I made a couple of extra things for set dressing. And with that, there was nothing left to do but stage a tiny runway show. Wrap up time. I had way too much fun with this project. Who knew that making tiny versions of the things you love could bring you so much joy? By the time I got to making the little stag stool and the Aesop candle, I was having so much fun. I was like, I just need to make miniature versions of everything in my life. Actually, for a while, my dream job was working in the art department at Leica Studios, the company that made Coraline. So, if you see this, call me. Some of the details are a little bit wobbly, like the back of Barbie's boots are pretty messy. I could have done a better job with the gloves instead of just painting fabric to look like leather. I could have used the faux leather, done more detail on them. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how they turned out. Anyway, thanks for tagging along and watching, and hopefully this came out okay. I had some issues logistically shooting this video because the details are really small and I don't have a macro lens. Just being really up close, my hands would block the lens a lot of the time. But hopefully it was just as entertaining for you as it was for me. If I turn this into a series, let me know what designer I should do next. I kind of had McQueen or Vivienne Westwood or maybe Virgil Abloh in mind, but there are so many fun options. Definitely let me know. Anyway, if you like this video and you want to see more, please consider liking, subscribing, and I will see you in the next one.